Globalization is commonly defined as the process in which businesses and other large organizations around the world develop international influence or start operating internationally. In other words, globalization describes the way countries and organizations integrate and come together and form one big economy. This makes things like trades easier. While there are many positive things about globalization, there are also many challenges. One of the biggest challenges we see today is the common issue of trafficking, specifically human trafficking, drug trafficking, and labor trafficking / sweatshops. All of these things are also changeable. Human trafficking especially is starting to hit closer to home than it ever has before. It is defined as the trade of humans for the purpose of forced labor, sexual exploitation, and things like that for the trafficker, but not for the people who are being trafficked. Human trafficking is one of the most prevalent and painful injustices in this generation. Today, there are over 21,000 men and women and children who are trafficked daily because traffickers make about $150 billion each year for the people they're trafficking. It makes it hard for them to stop. This affects every country, whether or not it is visible, and whether or not the people are visible minority. So I think the question is, what can we do about it? One solution of human trafficking would be to spread awareness. This isn't something that we should be taking lightly. Learn the indicators of human trafficking to help identify potential victims. These solutions together will stop enabling people to be treated wrongly and against their rights. Next issue is drug trafficking. Drug trafficking is an illegal drug trade and generally refers to the sale and distribution of illegal drugs. Illicit drug trafficking is sophisticated and complex, involving an overwhelming amount of drugs from different sources throughout the world. Drug trafficking is also greatly aided by the production and the manufacture of legal drugs, such as alcohol, tobacco, caffeine, which softens social opinions about drug use. This leads to drug cartels. A drug cartel is any criminal organization with the intention of supplying drug trafficking operations with nearly endless resources at their disposal. The cartels continue to develop new ways to get drugs into this and other countries of heavy consumption. The penalties for dangerous drug trafficking usually depend on the type of drug being trafficked, along with the weight of the drug. Drug trafficking is usually considered a Class 2 felony, which is punishable by 4 to 10 years in prison along with different fines. This doesn't stop people from being in drug cartels or illegally selling drugs. One solution to the problem of drug trafficking would actually be to legalize it. I know that it sounds crazy, but legalizing a drug would stop people from doing it in secret. And I also think that there needs to be a line drawn of which drugs would be legal to trade. But I also think that people would get nowhere with trades. There wouldn't be a lot of the stuff that we have today. And unfortunately, drugs is one of those things. But it's something that people use in their day-to-day life, and there's not really much choice for us. Finally, labor trafficking. Labor trafficking is similar to human trafficking, as it's when people are traded solely for a purpose of labor. Labor trafficking includes situations of debt bondage, forced labor, and involuntary child labor. This problem resurfaces daily, globally, and internationally. Labor trafficking affects our daily lives because these people are the ones touching our food, serving us, and touching what we're buying. Before the 20th century, forced labor was accepted in many countries as the natural order of economic and social relationships, and governments kept detailed records of slaves and their treatment. Today, its hidden nature makes it difficult to identify and quantify, making monitoring of forced labor with any degree of precision difficult. Furthermore, in some places where forced labor occurs, it's not seen as a crime. This creates an even bigger problem because it's excusing people for using others against their will. Labor trafficking is said to be one of the biggest growing incomes in organized crime of all time. A fundamental reason for trafficking and exploitation is the demand for cheap workers and prostitutes in both developing and developed countries. At the same time, There are millions of poor and vulnerable people who want to seek a better life abroad. But with partially closed borders, there are only a few legal job opportunities in destination countries. Although it's hard to stop, a solution to human trafficking is to toughen laws and scale up the enforcement against human trafficking at a national level in both sending and receiving countries, as well as the global level through cross-border prosecution units. This means that trafficking and exploitation should be punished as a severe penal offense in both sending and receiving countries, with punishment going beyond mere monetary fines. I think one of the biggest problems with human trafficking and labor trafficking and drug trafficking is that in some places it's actually legalized. This creates a lot of controversy because some people see it as, oh, it's legalized in this country, it must be okay, which it's not okay. It's using someone against their will, it's threatening someone, it's taking away human rights of people and taking away the potential of them to be someone bigger and better. And this includes children, women, men, anyone in general. National and international laws should also be strengthened, and more resources are needed to investigate and prosecute the traffickers, exploitive employers, and recruitment agencies that violate the laws. By this I mean that the penalties for labor trafficking, human trafficking, and drug trafficking should all be way more severe. They're all very dangerous and all bad things to get into, and it's not recommended because you could risk your life. You could also risk your life, the life of your families. You could risk the life of anyone that you know. In conclusion, the presentation and the future are both full of challenges, but we have the power to find the solution to these challenges and make the world a better place, one challenge at a time. Thank you.